Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP Job Oz. With me today, a very special guest, formerly known as Jackson Riker in the WWE, former TNA TV champion, former TNA Tag Team champion, once known as the modern-day Viking. He is, of course, Gunner, aka Chad Lale. Chad, welcome to the two-man
Hey,
power trip. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on here today, brother.
So, what's going on in your world? What's going on with you?
Man, just hit my 90-day no compete clause. It ended February 18th. So for me, it's just a transition into some new things. We I'm booked basically through the summer with independent shows, which is great. I chose to jump back on the indie scene and have a little fun. I mean, that's where I started in 2001. So why not go back to my roots and
Yeah,
just enjoying that and then jump. I have a lot of ministry opportunities. I know some of the listeners may know that I am in the process of getting out speaking a little bit at churches and just men's events. So I've got my foot in the door on a little bit of everything right now.
nice. So, what's it like, kind of not stepping away from wrestling, but for a little bit, stepping away?
Yeah, no. So November, I think it was 18th, I got released from WWE. It was a nice just pause, man. It was a good time to catch up on some family time that I'd missed out on a little bit. Went and just did a couple of different trips with my family, some different things, and just kind of, like I said, started getting my foot in the door with some other opportunities. It's been good for my body, I think, just to give myself a little bit of a break. But I had my first, I guess, independent show back February 26th. So me and a buddy showed up to the show, and it was little small building, and just I was like, man, back to my roots. And
Yeah.
it felt good to just have fun and enjoy. It was like very small building, like 75, 100 people. But you know what? The energy was there. People are loving coming off the COVID, they can go back to some live events. So I'm having a blast, man.
What did you think about the actual release, though? Like, were you shocked when that happened back in November?
I wasn't. There's so much changes going on right now, and you saw guys left and right getting released. And once the Elias feud ended there in August of 2021, so last year, I just kind of got lost. I don't know what happened. I don't think I made anybody mad. I felt like Elias and I did business well and performed well. And after that, it was just me doing main event matches. Which, dude, I got a chance to work with like Drew Gulak and Cedric Alexander, a lot of great guys, and it was weird, a weird vibe. I really wasn't for the last 6, 7 months there. I wasn't happy with the things that were going on, and I had 5 good years in WWE, but it was just one of those times where when it happened, when they released me in November, it was kind of a weight off my shoulders, to be quite honest.
What do you mean by that? You kind of just weren't happy, so you just wanted to be gone? It actually made you feel better to kind of just get out of there?
Yeah. And it wasn't one of those things where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to call Lamar and quit. I was like, well, I was pitching ideas for character stuff, pitching ideas to work with certain guys. Karrion Cross and I, known as Karrion Cross then,
Yep.
were pitching ideas to, work a feud, be a faction, like just a bunch of different things going back and forth. And nothing just ever stuck, man. And I don't know why, had a couple meetings with Vince here and there, but it was just one of those like, when you fly to TV and one week you're working main event, and then you fly to TV and you don't work for 3 or 4 weeks. It's just like a guy like me that grew up, wanting to be a pro wrestler at 5 years old. I didn't, I didn't dream of flying to work and sitting in the locker room. It's like, man, I want to be out there and
Right.
working in front of this crowd, entertaining, doing my job, doing what I love to do.
So what do they say, like, when you go in there? Like, what does Vince say? What do they say, like, why they're not using you?
There was honestly no answer. It was one of those things where like, oh, we're going to start coming up with some new ideas, and I've heard that many times with some of the other guys that got released, and then they get released, and you can pitch the ideas. I was talking to writers, doing this, doing that. There was really no, there was never a clear answer. I mean, and that's the entertainment business. I don't think it's just pro wrestling. I've done a few movies here and there, and that's kind of how it is. Hey, here's a script, do what you're told, go do your job, and we don't ask questions here. And it was nerve wracking at times, but it's one of those things, man. Like I mentioned before, I've mentioned many times, I had 5 years with WWE. Some people never even get that opportunity. So for me to be able to live my dream was at WrestleMania last year, just a lot of cool things that happened for me. So I'm never bitter. I'm not one of the guys that gets on the show and, starts bashing things or anything. But I think, people understand that it's the entertainment industry. one day you're hot, the next day you're not.
So what's it like meeting with Vince? Like, is it intimidating? How is he? Is he easy to meet with, or is it bit rough?
Honestly, he was very easy. And listen, I come from a stern family where, if I can deal with my father, who wasn't a mean man, but he was stern and strict. You just go in, and I've had many people throughout the years like, hey, dude, just go talk to Vince like he's a normal human being, because that's really, he's gonna see that if you go in there shaking and scared to talk to him. And that's how I handled it. I mean, I'm a Marine,
Yeah.
I've dealt with many
Right.
tough
Right.
individuals and conversations, and stood in front of Marine Corps boards to get promoted, in front of these hawk-eyed sergeant majors and first sergeants who are just looking for something to yell at you for. So, man, anytime I met with Vince, I just talked to him like you and I are talking right now. Just told him how I feel, the things I had in my mind, and or what I wanted to do, and he was always very open with me. Vince was never hard to deal with me.
Is he hard to reach as far as like getting to him? Because I always hear stories like you got to wait in line, or he's not available. He's obviously a busy man running $1 billion company, but is it like that? Is it hard to like get in front of him and get that meeting?
Yeah, it is a lot. I remember doing extra spots in 2008, 2009 as an extra talent for WWE. Vince would be walking around the back. You'd see him so much. And what I did notice is, going up to the main roster, he was very not hard to approach. I'm not going to say that, but one of those things where it's like, hey, does Vince have a few minutes to meet? Not right now. Just kind of, you got to pick and choose your days, whatever mood he was in, I guess. But yeah, it wasn't, I mean, they said it was an open door policy, but a lot of the times that wasn't the case.
It seems like, obviously he's got a million things going on through the day, so it might be when to catch him, when not to catch him, when to bother him, or when not to bother him. How you're approaching him too, right?
Oh yeah, and that's it, man. You understand. Okay, Vince is not in the best moods today. We're probably not going to be able to talk to him. You got to understand the man with the pandemic that hit over the past couple years. I mean, he's probably very stressed out over all the things that's going on. So he's got a company to run, and TV to write, and so it's a wild world. So I mean, you give him props. He's been doing it for many years.
Did you happen to catch his interview with Pat McAfee? Did you happen
I
to
haven't
catch
watched
that?
it yet. I've heard many good things about it. I haven't got a chance to sit down and actually check it out yet, but I am.
It's pretty interesting, pretty intriguing look into him, because I don't think he's done an interview. I'd say 10, 15 years or so. It's been a
Long,
while.
yes, it's been a very long time. So I definitely look forward to. Vince is I mean, he built a dynasty, right? He
Yep.
took this entity of WWE, and made it larger than anybody could ever have imagined. I mean, I remember as a kid growing up with the Attitude Era, and I'm just like, wow, what is going on here? This is something you never saw, and you probably never will see that again.
Absolutely. And it's funny, I saw some people online saying, "Oh, why didn't Pat McAfee grill him?" I was like, "Well, Pat works for him." You know what I mean? You can't grill him too much. I mean, there's some good stuff and there's some funny like questions, but not too much softballs. But it's one of the things where they're not going to say what happened in Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? They're not going to go that far.
No, 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 no. There's
Yeah.
definitely something going on there. They're building up for some kind of storyline here.
Yeah, Austin Theory against Pat McAfee, I think,
Okay, got it.
with like Vince kind of, I guess, in Austin Theory's corner, I guess.
Okay, you know what, man? That Austin Theory, dude. I got a chance to just be around him in NXT. He's a star, bro. He's a star. I'm looking forward to seeing how far he goes, and I mean, man, I look forward to that kid's future.
Kind of reminds me of Cena in '02. Like, remember when he
Yes.
first came up? That's the vibe you get from him.
Oh
Like, I don't know
yes.
what he's gonna do yet, but he's gonna do something.
Very much. Very much. He's got a bright future for sure.
So when you are like meeting with Vince and all that stuff, did he give you any indication like, hey, I'm happy with you. We're gonna go this direction, or you don't even get that from him? He's like tight lipped. He's not gonna tell you direction and things like that.
No, for me, it was always he had a direction. So with the Elias feud, like I said, it was he come up to me and said, "What do you think about a look change, like cutting your hair, trimming your beard?" And I said, "To be honest, I would love to. Like I was tired of that look. I'd had it for many years, changing things up." And so I did it. They started pushing me as a baby face, pretty much doing the stuff with Elias. So he was pretty open with me about what he wanted from me, kind of, more of a, not white meat baby face, but one like you would see Steve Austin or those guys back in the day. That was just a rugged, guy that just kept on getting up. And that's how I like to work anyway. So I was like, oh, I can do this. You just tell me what you want from me. So there was always a good line of communication there. But like I said, after the Elias feud, it just kind of, I don't know. I don't know what happened. It just, there was a big halt on everything. So
What about the strap? Like, what's the genesis of that? Does he say like, "Oh, I want you to have this leather strap"? I mean, like, what's the real like genesis of it?
I think I trapped myself into that. So we
Oh, okay.
we had the strap match, and we were doing a vignette in the back, and they wanted me kind of, like I said, that rugged, like psychotic kind of baby face. I was like, what if I'm just strapping myself here during this promo? Then I start talking and I finish it with me strapping myself. And we did it, and they were like, "Oh, that's incredible." Then Vince sees it, and he wants me to walk out to the ring beating myself with this leather strap that, man, hurt so bad.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking, what have I gotten myself into? But I went all in 110%. And then it just kind of fizzled out. Another thing that we were trying to run with it and do some stuff with it. It's not like I could just carry a strap around my whole career, but I thought there were some, pretty cool things we could have done. I pitched some ideas for myself and R-Truth, because we had done some little skits together, and
Hmm.
just a very fun guy to work with. And I was like, man, we could have this, this little dynamic of this serious Jackson Riker and R-Truth always joking around. And then eventually he kind of breaks me and makes me crack. And unfortunately, that never happened. But man, I wish, because that would have been a lot of fun.
See, with the strap, back in the day, OVW, I think it was '06 or '07, something like that. Brent Albright had the strap, but it was his grandfather's strap. So, like,
Yes.
it meant something, you know what I mean? And then he feuded with Punk, and they had a nice feud. But I thought that's what it was going to be. I thought it was going to mean something to you personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I think moving forward, if we would have kept on moving with that, we could have done a lot. I could have done some heritage with it, or just something
Yep.
different, which that's great to think about, how Brent Albright used that and made a story out of it. So it had some meaning.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, maybe that's where it was headed. So, it really didn't have any meaning yet, like as
Yeah.
far as TV.
Yeah, they missed, I think we missed out on some good opportunities with certain things. With me cutting my hair, I was just talking about this the other day, where I think Elias could have jumped me backstage and even shaved my head and just,
Yeah.
made me flip a switch. And I mean, there's just so many things. But, WWE is like, it's by times, man. So, like, there's, whatever Vince envisions or whatever he wants, it's like, it's very cut and dry, paint by numbers kind of thing. Not That's not taken away from the talent. Everybody works super hard. But with AEW, I could have probably went and said, "Hey, I have an idea. Let's let him attack me, shave my head, causes me to flip a switch." And they'd have probably went, "Oh, that's great TV." But it's
Right.
just different in WWE, man. Like I said, it's by the numbers, and you do what he says and go from there.
See, that would have been great, would have made, like, sense and would have added to the feud,
Yeah,
like, "Hey, this guy shaved my head, this is a personal issue here." Like,
sure.
that embarrassing almost.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. But then it brought me back to, like, I thought we pitched the idea of doing it, and then it's like flips this switch, and I go back to this Marine Corps mentality of the crew cut and the clean cut. And there's just so many opportunities there. But it's all right. Stuff maybe I can do on the independent scene, or
Yeah.
maybe another major company down the road. So
What do you think of Elias? Because obviously when he first came in, or when we first saw him on the scene in WWE, uh, so much potential, he's got a great look.
yeah.
He's almost like looks like the Macho Man almost, to a certain
Yes.
extent, but a different look to him, but you know what I mean? What did you think about Elias?
Dude, we became really close friends, still keep in touch to this day. Just a really good guy I linked arms with, and kind of just we had the same vision when it came to, like, dude, we loved to team. And we thought we were going to end up getting the tag titles, because they were like, we were doing these matches with New Day and these really good tag matches that we'd come to the back, and Vince would be like, man, that was great. We just had this dynamic. And then they split us up, which is fine, because we got to feud a little bit and do the Symphony of Destruction match. But man, like I said, he just became one of my good friends. We traveled together. We worked out together. We kind of had the same vision about things and about life. And you're right. Every time before we even really met, I looked and was like, that guy's got a macho man vibe to him,
Mhm.
and he's one of those too that just he's got like the small details. He can flip a switch, man, and he gets out there, whether it's on the microphone, or you've seen the things he did with Undertaker, John Cena throughout the years. Just an incredible talent, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with him when he comes back. I think it's going to be some good stuff. But man, nothing but good things to say about Elias.
The drifter, the
Yeah,
guitar playing, the look. Apparently,
right.
they got rid of all that, and they were going to bring him back. And I guess he almost looked too much like Macho Man in the reincarnation that they were going to bring him back with. So
Okay.
they didn't bring him back. I mean, who knows if that's true or not? But
I don't
it's
know.
just one of those things. It's like, where the hell has he been? He seemed like he had money written all over him.
Yeah, and he does, because I mean, like I said, I just mentioned the names of guys he's worked with. Everybody. I mean, he's definitely got money written all over him. So I hope and pray that they do the right thing with him because he's just one of those talents that not only, I mean, he's been wrestling for quite some time. I want to say, Lord, I've been in it almost 22 years. I would say at least 15 with Elias. And he's got something he can get in the ring and work with a guy like, Austin Theory, we just mentioned, or some of these younger talents coming up from the NXT brand. And he's just got a lot to offer. He's gonna you. So what we always talked about with the WWE locker room, you got Randy Orton, John Cena's around a little bit. You have these select guys, Edge, obviously, who's still those veterans that you can go to and pick their brains and learn these things because these guys work with, I mean, Shawn Michaels, all these names. There's not many guys that are moving into that place of the locker room leaders.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it's baffling to see, like, maybe it's Vince's fault, but like, why isn't Elias out there? You know what I mean? It's just like you see somebody and you just don't know why he's not being pushed.
Right, because the people love him. I mean, they either loved him or
Yeah.
hated him.
Yep.
Even when he was singing his songs, even if he was a heel, they were still cheering him at times. And it was so he's just one of those characters that they can latch on to, man. And it's I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
Did you think you guys were going to get, like you said, the tag title, but did you think you'd get more of a push because you had the symphony match, the strap match? Like, you guys are building something there. It seems like there's going to be some sort of payoff, and there. I mean, there kind of was with you winning it, but there wasn't really a big payoff.
There wasn't. We were expecting more. Like I said, we were doing some really awesome tag team matches. And we were expecting like to at least go into a pay-per-view and work with the tag champs or something like that. But it just, they said, no, we're going to let you, I think we're going to let you guys feud. And after the Symphony of Destruction match, he kind of went away and then I kind of fizzled away, I guess you can say. We definitely would have loved, because we did strap match, probably two other matches, and then the Symphony of Destruction. So it wasn't a lot. I feel like there's more we could have done. Like, we pitched some vignettes. We pitched all kinds of stuff. Him jumping me in the parking lot. I mean, I really think we could have stretched it out to a pay-per-view match. I mean, the Symphony Destruction match to me, going into Dallas, the first live crowd we had back after whatever, a year and a half.
Yep.
Man, that match could have been a pay-per-view match. That match hurt. I mean, everything about it hurt. You know what I mean? The crowd was electric, and I just remember the feeling of it and going, really, I feel like we did a good piece of business that night.
And the thing is, too, to me anyway, it's like, okay, you look at yourself and you look at Elias, like these guys look like wrestlers. They're not short, they're not, little guys. You know what I mean? They're actual look like real superstars, real wrestlers. And you think Vince would love guys like you guys because you look like guys that he supposedly quote unquote loves. Like they got the body, they got the look, they got the height. I mean, they look like pro wrestlers, guys that are larger than life.
Sure. And yes, what I always heard, Vince was a body guy. That's what they called
Right.
it. And
Yep.
it's different business now, which I'm glad. There's different, heights, weights, all kinds of stuff. But for sure, I mean, you got two guys that when I was growing up as a kid, and I hate to be that guy that keeps saying that, but I mean, it was
Mm,
Hogan and Macho and Rick
yep.
Rude, and just, I mean, everybody looked like men, so that's what,
Yep.
captivated me as a child. I was like, these guys, and then most of them were legit, tough guys. So when I see a guy like myself and Elias, or a Big E and some like Drew, when I see those
Mm.
guys wrestling or fighting, I'm like, oh man, because these guys could probably legit fight somebody.
Yeah. It is just sometimes, I don't know, it's a weird thing because some guys, even though they're smaller, like Brian Danielson's awesome and a legit shooter too. So I mean, he's legit tough, and like he's kind of almost the exception to the rule. But sometimes it's like some of the guys are too small, not believable, and maybe kind of take you out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But guys like even Big E, obviously he's a big guy. I mean, he looks like he could be a wrestler. Obviously, played football at Iowa too, so he's a legit background. But you know what I mean? Like, I think it's missing a little bit in wrestling, like that legit factor. Like, oh, this guy could really do some damage, or oh, look at this guy, he could kick ass.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And like I said, me as a fan from growing up in the 80s and 90s, that's what I enjoy. I
Yep.
mean, there's a different breed of fans now. They all have their own whatever, kind of action or wrestlers styles they like and whatnot. But I've always just been a fan of that rugged Ronnie Garvin. I mean, these guys that I mean, I can name names all day long of
Yep.
guys. I'm just like, man, he's like, I just like that rugged style. I'm not one of the, look, I commend guys like Ricochet and these guys who can do what they do because I can never do it. Never would try, but I still enjoy just a good when I get a chance to see Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. I mean, there's two guys that's literally out there, busting each other up, and that's what I like to see, just the physicality part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is no doubt about it, a spot for the smaller guys. It's just that to me, it's such a different business, but it was so
Sure.
successful with the larger than life guys. Maybe the casual fans, that's what they need to bring them back in.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because you want to see. I mean, when I go see when I go see an action movie, I'm a little bit more into it. If it's like what was the Expendables, just a bunch of
Oh
rugged
yeah.
old men,
Oh yeah. Yep.
just a movie like that, opposed to. But once again, everybody's got their own cup of tea that they like, and for you and I, it seems like we're on the same page. We just like that rugged, just man fighting. That's
Yeah,
what
like when they brought back Rambo, I was all into it. I was loving it.
Me too. I mean, as a kid, I mean, First Blood, watching that as a kid, and then
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is whatever part 6 or something. And I'm like, everybody's like, well, he's old. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. It's still just sweet, like just to watch this old man just massacre everybody. So, yeah,
Me and my good buddy of mine, we were arguing over Sly versus Arnold, and I was naming all the awesome Arnold movies, and he was naming all the awesome Sly movies. I'm like, damn it, it might have to be a tie. So I was like, Arnold, but then I was like, oh, he's like, what about Cobra? And I was like,
oh,
what about Predator? We were just going back and forth, but
yeah.
like that's the good
Was
stuff.
Commando in there? Because that's one of my all-time
Yes,
favorites. So as
yes,
a
of
kid, I
course.
wore that
Yes,
VHS tape out, dude. Commando was my.
yeah.
I bet my mom laughs. I probably watched it. Oh man, 2 or 3 times a day.
Oh, I love Commando. I
Yes.
was watching Predator the other day, and I just was laughing because Jesse Ventura is so good in
Oh,
Predator.
yeah,
Small role, but you know what I mean. Like all those guys, Carl Weathers is awesome in him. It's just
man, just
great
awesome.
stuff.
I like it. I like it.
Total Recall, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I could go on and on all day with
Yeah.
the Running Man. You know, I could get
Running
into
Man. Yeah. There's some good ones out there.
yeah. But kind of going back to like the release part,
Mhm.
how does that like go down? Is it like a Johnny Ace thing? Is there an excuse thrown in there? Like what is like the release about? Like is it like a phone call? Do they bring you in?
No, it was November 18th, I believe, and probably 9:30 at night. The reason I remember the time is I was actually sending an email to a writer I was working with on a new character idea. And I saw it, just WWE Corp pop up on my phone. And I was like, oh, I think we're about to get released. It was Johnny Ace, and he was always cool with me backstage, man. We would talk and stuff like that. And he just said, we're going to exercise the right to terminate your contract, your 90-day no compete clause. He goes, we don't have anything for you right now. Maybe down the line, keep my number and the normal spiel. And it's really what it come down. They say budget cuts. I mean, that's what we always heard, but it's, if you look at the profit of the company, I mean, they're making money. So it's like, okay, there's
Right.
no budget cut. There's no budget cut. It's just a matter of something big. It's just weird because there's so many. I mean, over 2021, somebody told me like, I don't know how many, 50, maybe more talent got released. It might be more than that, from WWE, NXT brand, everything. So, I mean, that's a lot, 50 to 60. I mean, that's a lot of
I thought I counted 90 when I was just like looking the other day. Maybe
maybe
I'm wrong. Maybe
90,
I was combining 2 years, but it was a lot.
but still over 2 years, that's a lot. Because
Yeah.
there was a time in WWE where nobody was getting released, and then all of a sudden things started happening. So it makes you wonder sometime, like there's no budget cut because the company profited. So, but that's it. Like I said, it was one of those things that happened, and I said, "Hey, man, I appreciate the 5 years of employment, and now it's time to just kind of move on to some other things."
Do you take that like in stride, though, budget cut, or does that bother you a little? Because, that might not necessarily be true. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of just something you say, it seems like.
Well, man, for me, I've been wrestling almost 22 years. I had a contract with Impact 2010 to 2015, and then almost 5 years with WWE. I know how the entertainment industry works. They're never going to tell you the truth. Most of the time, throughout my career, if you send an email to somebody, if they reply, it's 5, 6 days later. It's not like a normal business where they call you and go, hey, we're gonna have to let you go because of whatever reason. It's always a budget cut, or we just don't have anything for you. There's never a clear answer of, hey, you know, you messed this up or Vince doesn't like you anymore. I would much rather them tell me that than go, oh, it's a budget cut. Because then deep down inside, no, there's no budget cut because you guys, like I said, you're profiting. But that's the entertainment industry. And that's just, I think that's their go to just to kind of end the conversation and be out.
To me, though, it's like, okay, budget cut, but then Lesnar comes in, who supposedly is God knows how much money it costs, but he never ever wrestles 4 pay-per-views in a row, and all
Right.
of a sudden he's wrestling 4 pay-per-views in a row,
Yeah.
and it's like, is he not included in the budget? You know what I mean? Like, how does that make sense?
It's wild. Plus, I mean, they just, signed that deal with Saudi Arabia. It's like a
Yep.
10-year, like just extreme amount of money. So it's
Yep.
like we know what's going on, man. But yeah, I mean, hey, that's the entertainment industry. I mean, it happens every single day. And it's one of those things that I signed up to do this. It's what I want to do when I was a 5-year-old. And I look at the opportunities I've had. I look at, all the years I worked indies and made no money and then got an opportunity to, support my family and buy a house. And so it's, I'm not bitter. A lot of people, you hear them getting released and they're just dogging the company and trashing people. Yeah, man, I had a lot of fun times. Hunter was always cool with us down at NXT. I mean, I got a chance to work with Shawn Michaels, Terry Taylor, Norman Smiley. Bro, just the knowledge that I gained is worth the time that I was there. So I'm not bitter by any means.
How'd you get in though? Like Triple H, obviously NXT. How'd you get in there? Like, did Matt Bloom call you? Like, who's the connection?
No, so 2015, I got released from Impact. That was June of 2015, and Dash Wilder, who Dash Wilder at the time, they're at AEW with Cash Wheeler, I guess is his name now. We're good buddies, known each other since 2004. So he was still at NXT at the time in 2015, and I called him and said, "Dude, I mean, we're really good buddies." 2004, we traveled throughout the years, independent scene. And I said, man, I just got released from Impact. Is there, who can I talk to at least come in and get a tryout? And man, probably, I guess, literally, probably a day or so later, I get an email from William Regal. And, me and Cash had known or know Edge pretty well. So Edge kind of vouched for me to Regal. Regal ended up getting me a tryout in July of 2015. So a month later, come down there and do a tryout, do really well, meet with Hunter. And then it took 2 years before I got hired. So it was a long process. But if you look at that 2015, 2017 time frame, it's when Hunter was building this brand of NXT Black and Gold up. So he was
Yep.
bringing in these new indie guys, hot indie guys, stuff like that. So I always say that's probably why. So my foot in the door was just keeping in touch with Regal for 2 years, man. I mean, once a month I wouldn't bug him. I'd email him and he would go, I just keep you in a loop. Long story short, I'm rambling. I'm sorry, but in 2000, I guess early 2017, like January, I get a call from Impact again saying, "Hey, we want to bring you back to team with Crimson." And I said, "Okay, cool. I mean, let's do some stuff." And I left Impact on a guaranteed contract, so making a monthly check on top of what I made per show. They wanted to bring me in for just getting paid per show. I couldn't trust that because at that, I had just had a daughter, she was born in 2016. I was like, man. So instantly I call up Cash Wheeler, Daniel, and this is what happened. And bro, within an hour, William Regal called me and said, "Hey, we want to offer you a contract WWE." So it was literally like that. And I mean,
Wow.
so luckily I said something instead of just taking, the easy route. I was like, I at least got to mention this to Regal. And they did. So May of 2017, I reported down there. Thinking just keeping in touch with Regal, man. Thankfully for Edge, for Dash, just these guys that really vouched for me. I knew Matt Bloom a little bit from my tryout. Never really kept in touch with him. Terry Taylor was a big help for me. He's one that helped me with Impact. And I always kept in touch with him because he's a coach down at WWE.
Do you think that they watch tape? Do they watch Impact though? Like, you know what I mean? They hopefully knew you beforehand, right?
It's funny because Matt Bloom, he knew of me. I think from my tryout, he knew that I had wrestled in Impact, but I don't think he ever watched any of it. Now I know Edge. I would send him some matches of my Impact stuff and just ask for critiques or whatnot. I would send some things to Regal. Some of my independent stuff I thought was worthwhile. So I don't. Terry may have watched Impact just because he had history there. But as far as the other coaches, now a lot of them they didn't pay attention to any other product.
Interesting, because it's on Spike TV. It's a national
Yeah.
program, global program, really.
So they say. Now we've all laughed and said, "Oh, they say, I never watch that," but they're probably at home every all the time, like flipping channels back and forth, like Monday,
Right, right,
just to keep an eye on people they know. Because I mean,
right.
I still watch AEW because I know quite a few guys there, and at WWE, obviously. I mean, I know a lot of the guys there. I like to keep up on. So NWA, I still keep an eye on because of Bram and Nick Aldis, and just a slew of guys I like to keep up on. So we all keep an eye on the product.
Yeah, good thing to do that. But it's just to me sometimes like, wow, they bring you in for a tryout. You were on TV for 5 years. You know what I mean? It's like, really? Is that necessary?
But at the time, so that's the thing is at the time, a lot of that was happening with with guys like Roderick Strong. It didn't, but because a lot of people ask me like, why are they sending you to? At the time, it was quote unquote the developmental talent, NXT down there, but then it turned into a whole different entity.
Yep.
But I mean, man, every single day we were in the performance center, myself, guys like Bobby Fish, Adam Cole, everybody, nobody was exempt. I mean, there was times when Finn Balor was there rolling around in the ring with us. So it's, nobody was exempt from that. I mean, some of the classes were a little bit more intense than other classes, but it was one of those things where Hunter wanted everybody there, just to kind of, be a part of a team basically, because that's really what we were building down there.
Is it to humble the guys too a little bit, like, or maybe get them out of their comfort zone of like, hey, you might have been somebody there, but you're nobody here. Is that like a part of it too?
I think so. I think because me and a couple of the guys would laugh quite often because it was like WWE was a mind game place.
Yes.
You would
Yeah.
have a match on a live event in Florida, and I've been wrestling 20 some years, and like I'm used to going into Independence or even Impact where we could kind of work how we worked and listen to the people, how they've always done it. And you would try some things on these NXT shows, and they would be like, why do you do that? Like, why would you do that? And I'm like, why not? Like that's what pro wrestling's about, trying things. And if it fails, don't do it, or listening to what the people want, not just
Right.
ABC. But that's the WWE. That's their brand. I mean, this is how we do it, and we don't steer off that brand. So, but I think it was a humbling, for some guys. For me, it took a minute. It took about 6 months to where when I first got there, I was like, God, did I forget how to work or something? Like the way they're talking to me. But then eventually I'm like, no, listen, I went through 13 weeks in boot camp where they broke you down from a civilian into a United States Marine, all mind games, but I learned a lot. I will say that.
It's almost like the same thing all over again. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more intense Marine Corps boot camp. But I mean, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
we did some intense stuff at the
Yeah.
performance center. I mean, a lot of bump drills, blow up drills, and but some of the more fun times I had was getting a chance. We had these sessions where we would watch tape, whether it be our live event matches or sometimes just an old match with like Terry Taylor or Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg. Mick Foley had come in a few times, and he'd bring in like Steve Kern, and I mean, dude, there's so many guys that would come in and just pour knowledge into us, and I love that. I love to just sit and kind of be under the learning tree of some of these guys who obviously Shawn Michaels, arguably
Yeah.
the greatest ever. And just sitting under the learning tree of this guy and listening to him say things too. Like at times he'd be like, I don't know why, they're telling you guys not to do this here. He goes, because, you know, Sean would say, us back in the 90s, we just tried things. And if it worked, we kept it. If it didn't, then we just didn't do it again. Like each crowd's going to be different. So hearing him say that kind of calmed me down and went, okay, we're just going to try some things.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. What do you think about now? If you just look at the landscape, Michaels is there, he's in charge, but Triple H isn't there anymore. Regal's not there anymore. A bunch of guys that were once there and the staples, obviously Triple H was the boss, no longer in that part of NXT. It's different.
Man, it's wild. So I was speaking about this maybe a month ago to a buddy, and that NXT black and gold brand there for those number of years from what 2000, roughly the end of 17 on, until the pandemic hit, dude, it was on fire. It went from, SmackDown and Raw being the main two brands to NXT being in the run with it, and NXT selling out huge arenas, a year in advance. We're going to different towns, different venues. I mean, these red hot crowds. Hunter not just Hunter. Hunter had a vision that he built upon, but the talent built that roster as well. And now, it's like, yeah, Hunter's not there. He's kind of missing. I know he went through some health issues. Road Dog's gone. Regal's gone. It's a completely different product, when I watch it now. And it's not taken away from the talent once again, because there's some young talent down there I love to see get opportunities, but it's just not the same. I feel like it's kind of just, it's not the NXT black and gold where that was, I mean, that was a, dude, it was one that I don't know. I mean, the rating that we were on fire. I mean, like I said, that you could tell by the crowds at these Brooklyn takeovers and all these other takeovers we did. And it's just not the same now. It's something I don't know if somebody came in and got their hands in it, or Vince was like, no, this is getting too big. Let's crush it down. Let's make it more developmental, because that's what it seems like.
Seems like that for sure, because it seems like all the indie guys are gone either, or maybe one or two are still sprinkled in, like Roddy Strong is still there.
Sure.
But it doesn't seem like they wanted to keep a lot of those guys. They let Gargano go, let Cole go, Fish, O'Reilly. I mean, they let all those guys go. And now you got, they still have some veterans, but it's Braun Breaker, it's Rick Steiner's son,
Yep.
it's Grayson Waller. I mean, it's a lot of the younger guys for sure. It's back to being developmental again.
It is. And you know what, man? Um, in my eyes, as a wrestling fan, I'm like, over the years, growing up watching it in the 90s, early 2000s, you had new talent coming in like you do at NXT, but you always had these veterans that were leading the pack. You
Yeah.
had these Shawn Michaels who were working with younger talent to whatever, teach them and guide them and make them better performers. And at NXT now, it's like it's all young talent. So it's like, okay, where's the veterans that are out working with? Where's the Samoa Joes or the, these guys? Obviously, we know where they are, but like to me, you still need
Yep.
those seasoned wrestlers, man or woman, that come in and help lead and teach these guys, experience, not just moves. Because now it's just, I mean, a lot of times it's just moves. There's no, like I say, there's not any emotion. There's some good, emotion down there, but it's just, I don't know. Sometimes it's just not what I grew up on. Maybe I'm jaded, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's interesting 'cause it's almost like even if the guy's not that experienced, sink or swim. You're on TV, let's see what you got. Like there's no holding off because you're on TV every Tuesday night on USA.
Sure, that's it. It's sink or swim, and that's way. I mean, that's the way I was raised in the business. Is you perform, you do well, you keep getting booked, getting paid. If not, then you're gonna sit on the bench, man, or you're gonna go home.
And it seemed to be a bit of symbolism. I don't know if you ever saw this, but they had the black and gold X and Rick Steiner's son, Braun Breaker, kicked through it and broke it in half.
Yeah,
So it's one of those things where it's like that. I don't know if that's symbolism or not, but it's like, no, it's NXT 2.0. And it was like, wow, literally breaking apart the old logo. I was like, wow, all
yeah.
right.
It makes you wonder if there's like a headbutt of powers, Vince and a Hunter, and Vince is like, nope, I'm the alpha here. It makes you wonder sometime, right?
Yeah. Even the interview with Pat McAfee, he said, he goes, sometimes family members don't live up to what I want them to be. Now, somebody said he was talking about Shane. You wouldn't say family member if it's your son. You would say family.
Yeah.
So that's why I was thinking Triple H, family member. Like it was almost like a little shot at H there, which maybe they were
Possibility.
button heads. Yeah,
Yeah,
weird.
that's a possibility because I mean, dude, Hunter was a pleasure to work for, though. He had a vision, like even when the Forgotten Sons were linked up, he had a vision of, what he wanted, but he would listen to us, as the difference of NXT and the main roster, he'd at least listen to you. And sometimes he'd be like, no, 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 let's just keep it at this. Or other times he'd be like, oh, that's actually a good idea. So you had a little bit of input there. I mean, and that's what we enjoyed about NXT. And I'm thankful that I was a part of that black and gold fiery brand, because I mean, to me, that was some history. And unfortunately, it's really not around anymore.
What'd you think about H though? Like just on a personal level, you got along with him very well.
Yeah, dude, very approachable. Even from the first time I had a meeting with him in 2017 or whatever, very approachable. Always out there at the ring, going over stuff with guys, telling you what he, like I said, what he envisioned. Just one of those guys that was just, I imagine too, that's how, let's see, I did extra spots in 2007, 2008. I remember Vince always being ringside. So, that's where Hunter, I would think, got that from. And then, once Vince got a little older, I'm assuming his, health may not be the best. I don't know. But dude, with Hunter, he was always ringside, always approachable. Hey, Hunter, you got a second to talk? Yeah, man, what's up? Just a buddy. Not not like we're having dinner together or anything, but one of those
Right.
guys, he's the boss. Obviously, we treat him that way, but he's also the boss that wants to hear your input.
I was just talking to Scotty Tuhati, and it's funny. He was talking because he obviously knows Triple H from. I mean, we're going back in the '90s from the independent scene in the Northeast. He knows Triple H.
Wow,
So
that's
then
awesome.
he, so then he knows him again. Of course, in the Attitude Era, they're both big stars there. Of course, Triple H one of the biggest. But he
Yeah,
was saying that Triple H, and then when he started working for NXT, he goes was completely different. He's like, this guy just hugged a couple of the girls and said, "Great job, great match." He's like, this was the guy back in the day that was not backstabbing guys, but he's political. He's doing
yeah,
this like, oh shit, match Rock. Like being very competitive and stuff. He's like, and now he's being like the old father saying like, great job. He's like, I can't believe this is the same Triple H.
it's so crazy, man. I know. Think about that because yeah, you hear stories of the Attitude Era where these guys are just dogging each other, or
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, some of them stabbing each other in the back, and
Yep.
I mean, but now that you had Sean, that was the same way. Sean will be out ringside, Road Dogg will be out ringside. I mean, you're laughing because you got DX, out
Yeah.
inside
Yeah.
running the show, and we're like, dude, we're working for DX right now. That's what we're working for. And I would just laugh, man. But it's so true, so true.
Obviously, they grow up and they change, but it's just funny to think like, wow, it's Scotty, especially. He's like, I've been gone for a few years, but is this the same guy? He completely changed.
Yeah,
Obviously, he's got kids and stuff too, so he is probably fatherly, literally. He's
sure.
becoming in that father role, even calling the NXT guys his kids.
He's got all girls too, so I'm sure that humbled his
Yep.
life really quick. I
Yes.
got
Yeah.
one. I can only imagine 3 or
Yep.
4, whatever he's got.
I agree. Yeah, you almost become a little bit more like sensitive too.
You do
Yep.
for sure. Yes.
Yeah, like when my daughter was born, it's like, "Hey, you got to be a little bit more, you got to be gentle, you got to be a little bit more calm about things." Maybe that's why he gave the girls such a big push. He's starting
Uh,
to get a little soft to the girls. Yeah,
yeah,
not that
man.
they didn't deserve it, but he recognized the talent.
Sure, yeah. I mean, those girls too. That's something that, like, I mean, you look at the advancement of the female or the women's division or whatever.
Yep.
It's crazy. Wow, now because I mean, dude, growing up, I mean, 2001, 2002. I mean, they were quote unquote divas then. You had Tori and all these other women that are out doing these bra and panty matches and stuff like
Yep.
that. And now it's no, they're in there doing physical matches with each other. And yeah, it's just another one of those things that each fan's got their own Kool-Aid they like to drink and be a part of. So it's good for them, though.
Yep. Like Bianca and Charlotte are like two of the most athletic people on the roster. It's
Yeah,
crazy. You
dude.
wouldn't think that years ago.
Bianca's a beast too. I mean, she is a beast, man. I when I first got to NXT, she was pretty green and pretty young, but just a beast, man. And you just look at her and go, that girl's gonna be a star. And
Yep.
she is.
Yeah. Yeah,
She
she's going to
is.
main event. Well, not main event, but be big part of WrestleMania again.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So when does the Forgotten Son start? That's NXT when they start putting you and Macklin and Blake together.
Yeah, so those two, Macklin and Blake, were doing a tag team, just kind of running some stuff on the NXT Florida loop, which we do Florida shows every weekend if we weren't on the road. And Steve Carino, matter of fact, we're all good buddies with. We were in his class a little bit. He had an idea of like just throwing us together on a a Florida show. Like, hey man, let's just make you guys a little trio and see how it goes. And we all rode together anyway, had a lot in common. Steve and I, Marines, Blake, just a college football, American Texas boy. And, we just rode together and just cut up, man. And I think into the friendship bond there just turned into this thing when they saw us as like a package per se. And especially once we kind of started like matching gear and kind of working as a unit instead of just three separate guys, we were working as a unit. They were like, man, there's something here because Triple H likes factions. Vince has always liked factions, three or four guys. We see that with Sanity and the Undisputed, all that stuff. So it really, I'm not going to say it was an accident, but Carino had a lot of say in it. Obviously, Macklin and Blake, they really had this vision of a tag team, but then they were like, man, like Riker could be this heater for us. He could be the enforcer per se, and we could use him as heels to do this and that. And it just molded, man, into something that Triple H got his eyes on and, kind of told us what he envisioned and asked us. And we had the free will with our gear. Like, my jacket lady out of Chicago made our jackets for us and our jeans. And it's kind of like I guess, like a biker look, you know? But that's really how it happened. It just kind of molded together, and the Forgotten Sons just we started doing promos together and doing some stuff together, throwing ideas to the writers, and it just kind of stuck, man. And it was a lot of fun. That was a fun ride.
Should it have been more military first, or was it supposed to be more biker first?
Yeah, no, they wanted that military kind of faction style to it, and I guess that brotherhood like bikers are,
Mhm.
and they, they didn't really want a because I know with WWE they stay away from like a military per se gimmick, now. But I think they wanted that, they still mention like Cutler and I being Marines or whatever,
Yeah.
former, however they want to say it. So that was still in the mix with our promos and stuff. We can mention it. But yeah, so they kind of kept that military faction. We played around with it a little bit.
So they don't wanna do a quote unquote "just military gimmick" in WWE?
No, I don't think so. Like, and it was, which I was fine. I never want like, they said it's like we're okay with mentioning your military history, but it's not like we're going to have another Sergeant Slaughter or anything, which I'm
Hmm.
completely okay with. I didn't want to come out wrestling in camo and, and stuff like that anyway. Like to me, that's just, I don't know, man. That's just fans nowadays. They don't want to see that. I don't think. I mean, you may have it on independent scene, which can get over in like a small town that's really diehard, but just the way things are now, I think it's just more. If you mention it, people are like, "Oh, I respect that." But if just the characters kind of crammed down their throat, I feel like fans just they buy it. They don't buy into it anymore.
Slaughter the bygone era, though. Although
Oh,
that was great in that era, but
oh, it
yeah.
was so good. No, I loved it as a kid. I was like, "Oh man, he's him and what was it, Pat Patterson boot camp match and all this stuff where
Yes.
Pat almost
Yes.
bled to death."
Yep.
So,
Yep.
dude, I love those eras, man. So I'm a fan of it, but it's just different. So I think we had like I said the free will to mention our military history, but they just kind of wanted this like biker vibe with our jackets and all that stuff. I think once we presented to Hunter, hey, this is what we got made, he was like, oh, that's really cool looking. You guys are way different than anything we have on the roster. You guys are working in jeans or whatever, and you got your kind of own like brotherhood quote unquote jacket. So it was really cool.
Where does the name Jackson Riker come from?
I came up with it, man. They gave me the
Really? Wow.
yeah, they gave me the free will, which was really cool because sometimes they'll stick a name on somebody and you're like, man, that's terrible. But for me, so my wife and I, we have a daughter, 5-year-old daughter, and we if we have a son one day, we've always just had this name Riker in the background. I've always liked that name. We was going to name our son Riker if we have one. So I chose that as a last name, and then Jackson. I like Jax because I'm like a Sons of Anarchy fan, so I always enjoy that character.
Yep.
But we had Nia Jax. I was like, well, can't do that. And I was thinking about what about Jackson with an X instead of like JACK. I was like, kind of sounds rugged and stylish or whatever. So I just put
Mhm.
those two together and shot it to him. And there was a few other things, but that one stuck. And he's like, yeah, I think we're going to go with Jackson Riker. And I was like, sweet. So I got an opportunity to choose it. I was very lucky.
Wow, I was gonna say you're extremely lucky because I
Yeah.
know obviously there's a million guys that haven't that they're like, "What the hell is this name? Where'd you guys come up with this?"
Yeah. It's wild, right? Yeah. So no, I'm happy. Unfortunately, I didn't get to keep the property of it, but whatever.
Yep.
I got to use it. So
That is like the joke from NXT from years ago, the name generator thing. Like, uh-oh, what is the name generator? Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler. Like,
yeah.
what's he gonna come up with now? I forget Eli Drake what his name was, but it was awful. Whatever his NXT name was.
Yeah, I need to look that one up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so bad. It was like, holy crap, who comes up with some of these names?
Some
But
wild.
you got lucky.
I did. So like I said, I got to use that name, and luckily I own the Gunner name as well. So I don't have the property rights to Jackson Riker, but yeah, I'm very happy that I got to come up with it. I still got some Forgotten Sons gear that's got it on there, so it was cool to have my own name.
What about getting called up? Is that Johnny Ace again when you guys get called up to SmackDown?
No, that was so we had kind of heard through the grapevine a little bit. Like we had met with Canyon Seaman. I don't know if you heard that name. He
Oh
was
yeah, very
talent
familiar.
relations down there in
Yep.
NXT. And Johnny Ace, I don't think he was still, he was more like, I want to say at that time he had Mark Carano that was more talent relations for the main roster. Johnny was kind of doing other things at the time. Anyway, Canyon, he had pulled us aside one day because at the time NXT was really, blazing. There was talk, we ended up getting different NXT contracts where it wasn't just developmental contracts. We were getting, obviously a little bit more money. And then so I went up to him. I was like, hey, listen, just a question. Here I am, married with a child. We're from North Carolina. What's the, possibility of me being able to relocate back home? Like, I'm living in Florida. My daughter's going to be in kindergarten soon, so on and so forth. He goes, well, I will say this. Let's give it a little time, because he said, I think you guys may have an opportunity on the main roster. And he just kind of left it at that. So it's like maybe he already knew. And then we talked to one of the writers who was keen on us, and he was just talking to us about, would you guys like to go to the main roster? Is that an option? And we were like, of course we would. Like, who doesn't want to go to Raw, get a chance to go to Mania and all this stuff? And then we're at TV, and I can't remember what month. So early 2020, I guess, January. Hunter comes up to us, and he pulls us all three together. And this is funny. I'll never forget this. And he just goes, hey, so listen, tonight we're going to just kind of write you guys off TV. And you could hear this deathly sigh of like, oh God, you're getting rid of us. And he goes, it's because you guys are going to SmackDown. So we were all like, oh, come on, man. He kind of got us, but then he, gave us the handshake. And so that's really how it happened, man. We'd heard a little bit. There was kind of rumblings. We had always said, like, we felt like we were more main roster material anyway. Just our look was something Vince would like. And, it was cool. We had opportunity to work with New Day there. And then things changed.
So they kind of wanted you on the main roster to be the same gimmick, or, I know you're going to be the Forgotten Sons, but do they, Vince seems like he always, like Karrion Kross, for example.
Yeah.
He changed his gimmick completely from what it was in NXT, even the down to the music and whatever helmet, mask. Did they want to do the same thing with you guys? Like, all right, let's completely change these guys.
No, at the time, man, they wanted to completely keep us the same. No change, no look change, nothing. You keep the same gear. They wanted me to, I think Vince had some say of me staying in jeans when I would work a match or something. Because at NXT, I would wear trunks. I'd wear my jeans to the ring if we were doing like physical stuff. But he goes, yeah, all you guys wear jeans to wrestle in. So we had to go get these jeans made that had like stretchy material and all this stuff. So that's the only change that we ever witnessed. But other than that, they were going to keep the Forgotten Sons. We were doing some cool little vignettes and stuff like that. So yeah, there was never any say of, hey, we want you guys to completely change looks or anything.
So then, of course, the infamous tweet, the Donald Trump tweet. What was the heat? I guess was it from Vince? Was it from, because I know Kevin Owens or whatever and Sami Zayn, I guess, had something to say, but was there real heat from the office?
No, there was never anything that came from Vince. I mean, you got to think. The funny thing is, I just mentioned this the other day too. I tweeted that, and then 2 weeks later, Linda McMahon basically tweets the same exact thing I retweeted.
Yes.
So I always laugh about that. It was just one of those, because I went back, I tweeted that in June of 2020 or whatever it was. Is that something like that? And but like 6-7 months before, I'd tweeted something about Donald Trump and got no backlash. I don't know why at the time that happened, when it happened. What really caught fire, I think, is when the employees of the company kind of like latched on to this. And I don't know why. I'd never really spoken to any of those guys. We never had any issues. The thing about it is, like, just come to me and talk if you have a problem. Don't tweet it out just so your followers can go, oh man, that's so cool. We love you. It's basically what it came down to. But it was, it was nuts. Within a matter of 4 or 5 hours, my address, death threats to my family. And I'm like, bro, wow. Listen, I can understand if I would have got on there and tweeted something racial or something just, derogatory, but it was supporting a guy I thought was doing a good job. I served 4 years in the Marine Corps, so I could, just like anybody else, just like you, if you have an opinion over something, that's your opinion. Can we just talk about it? We might disagree, but at least as adults, we can go, all right, well, cool. You go your way, I'll go my way. But once my family got attacked, I was like, bro, this has got to be a kibosh. But the only thing I got from the office was just lay low. So they took us off TV. Don't understand why, but they did. And then there was never a moment where the company said, we need you to issue an apology, because respectfully, and I would have said no, don't feel like I needed to. And I learned, at that time, just not even going to comment on it. Just not going to say anything because that's really what they want you to do. It just got blown out of the water, man. I mean, that's my views. Once again, if I would have said something derogatory, racial, whatever, could completely understand. But yeah, it just kind of put a kibosh on everything. We were off TV from, gosh, I guess I got back to TV. That happened in June. I didn't go back to TV till December of 2020. Yeah, 2020. So
Wow.
yeah, it was very wild, man. Very wild. So it really put a halt, or basically ended the Forgotten Sons thing. And I think what why it ended the Forgotten Sons thing was we were doing some pretty fun pre-tapes. I say fun because the character stuff was really edgy in a way for
Mm.
something that WWE doesn't really do. And I think that's why they were like, we don't ruffle anybody's feathers anymore. Let's just disband them. So, and they did.
Very weird. I don't know. To me, it's like, okay, somebody has an opinion, even if it's the other way. I'm fine either way, but I
Absolutely.
wouldn't like even Owens and Zayn. I feel like took it a little too far. I wouldn't tweet something and just kind of stir up a fight, almost like make it controversial when it's not. And I don't know, that seems to be the Twitter mob mentality, almost like an immature thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like you disagree with the person's opinion, okay, but they had to turn it into something. I don't know. It's a little too much for me. I thought they took it a little too far.
I agree. And I mean, it's just like I said, I mean, it is, nobody had to comment. They could have pulled me aside in the locker room and said, hey man, I don't really agree with what you said. And I just said, well, why do you not agree? And we'd have had a conversation. I won't name a name, but there was one gentleman that good buddies in the locker room that worked for WWE at the time. He texted me and said, I don't agree with your tweet. And we had a little conversation, and at the end, we agreed to disagree, but we left it at that. He didn't attack me online. He didn't tweet me, and it's just, man, it got blown way out of proportion.
Making this world a little too political there with
Ooh, I'm
everybody,
telling
right?
you, yeah. And I
Yeah.
didn't, I'm not into politics by any means.
Hmm.
It's not my cup of tea. But and I always say there's other wrestlers on the roster who could voice their opinion on certain topics in the world that they agree with. We can name a whole slew of them, and I never attack them over those beliefs or rights. That's their right as an American citizen to voice their opinion on what they accept and not accept. But it just happened to be my time to get attacked, I guess, man.
Yeah, that's I don't know. It felt like it got blown way out of proportion, and
Yeah.
even like you said, you were off TV for 6 months.
Long time, but I'm very happy to sit here and say that I did not apologize, and I haven't. I don't feel like I needed an apology. But it's just a very, what do you call it, like sensitive time in our nation right now. We
Yeah.
know as well as anybody there's people battling over politics, and it just sucks, man. Because I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years with different colored people, different ethnic backgrounds, all these things. And we were brothers, we might have not agreed on you vote for this guy or I vote for this guy. We hardly ever talked about voting, that, to be quite honest. All I know is we were a brotherhood, no matter skin color. And that's what it was about, is just being humans and talking things out. And sometimes behind closed door, throwing fists, but
Right.
that's what we
Right.
did.
Yeah.
And at the end, we'd shake hands and, hey, I got your back no matter what. But it's not the way the world is now.
Did Macklin and Blake get some heat? Or did you have heat with them or no?
No, man, we never had heat with each other. I feel like we didn't. I mean, it's I'm sure they were a little disgruntled that everybody got taken off TV because we were getting a pretty good push with the New Day, and we were going into a
Right.
tag storyline with them. And for that, I always told the guys, "Hey, man, I'm sorry this is happening." Like, but no, we still keep in touch to this day. Here and there we'll chat. I'm happy to see Macklin doing some good stuff on Impact. Blake doing his stuff with control your narrative and just always staying busy. And we've all went our separate ways, but I feel like we've all been successful in a certain way as well. They're after that they were only with the company maybe a couple more months. I'm fortunate enough to have almost another, I guess, roughly a year. But that's just the way it turned. I mean, the thing is, all three of us, and you can tell by those two, they picked up and they continue to work, and now they're successful where they are, and that's character. I mean, that's just character of taking what they learned and not letting it defeat you, and that's really what it's about.
So obviously, Linda worked for Trump. Obviously, Vince McMahon, I don't know if people realize this, obviously it's out there, very good friends with Trump.
Of
Does he
course.
say anything to you? Like, or no, he doesn't say anything.
No, I've never. I wish I would have. Now I wish I would have, like, when I had a meeting when he brought the conversation up. But to be honest,
Right.
Vince, I don't even know if he knows it ever happened. I think it was one of those things that
Mm,
just was with that little group of whoever. Vince would probably went, "What are you talking about?" Like, yeah.
right.
So that's the only reason I never brought it up. But man, I was like I said, a couple weeks later, she literally tweeted the same thing I tweeted. I was like, "What in the world's going on right now?" I mean, and then but yep, no, only ones that yeah, just Carano told me to lay low at the time. Mark Carano, who was talent relations, said just stay off of social media for a little bit. And of course, the my address getting tweeted out and stuff like that. I had to contact our social media team who got stuff taken down and just
Yeah,
nuts.
that's sick. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's sick.
sick, man. So
People are crazy,
they
especially
are,
when
man. They are. But that's when you're an entertainer, whether it be an actor or whatever, you just I guess that's the life we choose. And sometimes it's gonna happen. You're gonna say one thing that sets the world off, man. And I hate it, but that's it.
Yep. So when they bring you back, do they mention anything like this Carano or maybe even he's gone at this point? I don't even remember when he was let go. But who brings you back and says, "Hey, you're back on TV in December"?
No, Carano was still there. He didn't leave. Let's see, I come back in December. It was Carano hit me up. It was like a text. Hey, I think we're going to be bringing you back. And then the travel. I was sitting home one Friday night. My wife was out of town. This is like literally 11 p.m. at night. And this is WWE travel, which is not their fault, but it's just the way
Right.
the company is. 11 p.m. at night. And and I get a text from one of the travel ladies. She goes, "Hey, we're booking you a flight to fly out in the morning." I went, "Oh my, what? Like I've been off for 7 or 8 months, and now you're going to give me 11 p.m. Iggy time here?" I'm like, "What's going on?" But I went, "Okay,
Right.
let's know what to do." So I'm having to, pack bags, and I was like, "Good Lord!" But once I got there, we didn't even know what was going on. I went maybe for a month or so before we had ideas. Like they'd had some different ideas. One of them was with what's the group that Ali had? I can't remember the name of the.
Retribution.
Yeah, so there was ideas of retribution for me, and I was like, man, I really don't want to wear a mask to wrestle in. I would have done it, but then there was actually I pitched an idea because I went up to Elias and said, "Hey, man, like we had been chatting a little bit before then because I had this like roadie idea, like Jeff Jarrett and Road Dog. It's
Yeah.
like, if I were your
Yep.
roadie." And he goes, "Man, I kind of like that idea." He was trying to do some different stuff. So I pitched it and they kind of, they stuck with it. And then right there at the beginning of the year, I get a call from one of the main writers and said, tomorrow night or Monday night, this is what we're going to do. You're going to kind of be his roadie, more his security guy. And I was like, sweet. And it just kind of flowed into that, man. So I sat around for probably a month, just kind of flying into TV, hearing things. And luckily, we went with the Elias stuff. I had a lot of fun with it.
Overall, would you say positive experience at WB? I mean, was it mostly you enjoying yourself minus the debacle there with everything that happened with the tweet and everything else?
Yeah, dude. Honestly, the almost 5 years I was there, the last 6 months I wasn't enjoying myself because,
Right.
like I said, I was sitting and wondering why, as a talent, this was happening.
And
Uh,
not being used.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, man. I mean, but a lot of fun. I mean, some of the most fun I've had in the ring is some of the NXT loops we did in Texas and all these other states. Just traveling on the bus with the boys, doing these awesome venues, these old music halls, these old buildings that we just get a chance to wrestle in. So a lot, very very positive. Like I said, the only negative I had to say was that last 6 months. Other than that, I mean, I mentioned earlier, just getting a chance to sit under the learning tree of a Shawn Michaels and these other guys. I mean, this is stuff you dream. Me, I mean, a 5-year-old kid wanting to wrestle, grew up watching Shawn and Road Dogg and Hunter. Like I never thought I'd be working with these guys, getting a chance to talk to them on a daily basis. So nothing but positive. I mean, they gave me a wonderful life to be able to provide for my family for close to 5 years, opportunity to learn and kind of, pass it on to the next generation.
I still find it funny though, like that they pretend like, oh no, this guy wasn't like TV champion, NWA tag champ, or TNA tag champ, but like national champion for a while. It's like obviously somebody they're scouts guys and they know the background, but it's almost
Sure.
like they pretend they don't. I find that funny. It's very
Yeah,
weird.
WWE, they always say if it didn't happen in WWE, it never happened in your career. That's so
Yeah,
true because they rarely mention. I mean, there were some things they got a little bit better. Hunter would use like Ring of Honor, some of the Ring of Honor footage for Roddy and these guys
right.
or Joe or whatever. But yeah, very very rarely would bring up any of that stuff. It was definitely you were only WWE. We built this guy. This is our character. Nothing else
Yep.
matters.
It's funny. Vince just had a great quote the other day about that, saying, "Oh, everybody could be a wrestler. You could be a good wrestler. You could be a wrestler. But if you're a WWE superstar, that's a notch above." Like basically saying WWE is, the end all be all. It's the best. Whatever you did before doesn't count.
Yeah, which is weird because you got some guys on AEW that could work circles around many. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, they're on fire. I love to see it because it's nothing like competition in the business. You saw it back in the Monday Night War days, and I just love to see it. But yeah, I've heard Vince say that like WWE is a step above, and it's true. I mean, there's some amazing talent on that roster, but you can't just brush these other companies under the rug and say there's no other talent there.
Right. I guess that's a business decision on his part. It's like, oh, it's
Sure.
WWE or bust.
Oh yeah, he doesn't mention anybody else. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
to him. Sure.
Yeah. So as we hit the wind down, we head towards the finish here. Do you have some favorite matches or favorite feuds, favorite opponents? I always enjoyed the James Storm stuff when you guys feuded in Impact. I felt like that was really good stuff. I felt like, tag champs, but also then you end up feuding. That was really good stuff. What about you? Do you have some favorite matches or opponents?
Yeah, the James stuff for sure. I spoke on this the other day just because we actually brought my real father in, and some people don't know, but that was my real dad. So
Really?
yeah, it was my
Wow.
real dad, man. And here's a man that grew up taking me to these shows, sitting on the couch with me, watching wrestling, a Sting fan and stuff. So to be able to bring my father into this, like this thing that he always supported me. He
Yep.
never said, "Oh, don't. What do you do? You want to be a pro wrestler? That's stupid." He never did that, man. He always supported me. So that was really cool for me. That was a fun feud, very physical feud. It took a toll on my body for sure. I can say one of my favorite moments was the build up to James turning on me, where I worked Magnus at the Manchester Arena there in 2014. I want to say. So we main evented that night. And I just remember that crowd being electric. Me and Magnus were a little worried because he's a UK guy. We were like, dude, are we going to go out here and they're going to, crap on Gunner and cheer Magnus when they're supposed to be booing Magnus, But it
Yes. Yeah.
was completely the way we needed it to be. So that's one of my favorite moments. I guess with WWE, some of my favorite stuff was, it wasn't long ago, but the stuff with Elias, just the Symphony of Destruction match, getting a chance to work with him. The stuff that Forgotten Sons did, man, we had a lot of fun. There's a lot of matches on these, these live events that we took all over the United States that people didn't get a chance to see. Some fun six mans or tag matches we did with like Aleister Black at the time and Ricochet, or Street Profits we were working, or Heavy Machinery at the time. Just a lot of like fun tag matches that because these were live events, we got to actually just do some old school wrestling opposed to like the WWE style of this is TV only. So yeah, just there's to name a few, man. I can definitely name a few right there.
Now, do you have any regrets? Like anything you wish you would have done differently, didn't happen? Anything you wish you could have done that you didn't do, as far as not that your career's over by any stretch, but anything so far in the career, you're like, man, I wish I would have done that.
So I can't say I have any regrets. I can say that I wish that. So there in 2010, when I signed with Impact, I was NWA national champion. They were grooming me, from what I was being told, to be the NWA heavyweight champion. So I was working with like Adam Pierce and Blue Demon, and just this whole just slew of amazing talent building up to that. Got signed with Impact. Obviously, they took the national off of me, so that kind of put a kibosh on the heavyweight title. That's one thing I wish I could have done, and it's never too late. I mean, NWA is still around and fired up right now. But regrets, like things I would have done differently. Um, no, I always had a good attitude. I can never say that my attitude caused me to lose my temper and destroy an opportunity for me. I always stood up for myself. No, I mean, I tended to latch on to those guys like AJ in Impact Wrestling or Ken Anderson, Bobby Roode, and just mingle with those guys because I looked at who the stars were. And those were the guys that I wanted to be. And those are guys I needed to learn from. And the same, same in WWE. I do, regret not getting an opportunity to run more with Forgotten Sons. Don't regret my tweet by any means, but I do, hate that we didn't get a chance to do more. I hate that kind of put a kibosh on everything because I do think that we would have had some really, really good matches with New Day.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
As far as like next, mention NWA. I think that would be a perfect spot. AEW, you mentioned you love AEW. So
Mm.
are those possible landing spots or not necessarily like, oh, that's where I want to be, but like maybe try it out there, see if you like it. Like, is that something you want to do? You want long-term contract, short-term contract? What are you looking for?
Yeah, no, right now I'm open. I'm having a good time working the independent scene. It's where I started in 2001. I went back to my roots. I said I'm gonna go to the independents, just have a good time and enjoy myself. I would love to go do some stuff with NWA. I enjoy their product. Work, getting a chance to work with Nick and these guys I've been in the ring with before. I'll never say no to AEW. Long-term contract, I don't know if it's in my sights right now. But once again, the opportunity arises, and a company like AEW and NWA that I love, and we spoke about this the whole episode, is just these guys are getting a chance to they're their own character. I mean, basically, they still have writers and stuff with AEW, I'm sure, or a vision that Tony has, or a vision that Jericho has, or whatnot. But I'm pretty sure they're a lot more open to me going, "Hey, what if we tried this instead tonight?" And it may work, it may not, but I feel like it's like with AEW, it just reminds me of that attitude era, in WWF at the time,
Mhm.
where dude, everybody was a star. I mean, AEW, like they're just building everybody. It's not, I mean, you got your main stars, obviously, but I just feel like everybody's just killing it right now. And that's what wrestling's about. Just everybody having a chance to get over and sink or swim, like we said earlier, sink or
Yep.
swim. With WWE, I feel like there's like a cap. They got their select few that they're pushing to the moon or whatnot, and any other guys are kind of on the back burner, which sucks because there's some good talent out there that should be pushed
Yep.
a lot more. So I'll never say never. Any opportunity that arises, if I feel it's going to be a good opportunity for my family and my career, because I'm not done. I'll be 40 in June, man. My body still feels good. I have a lot more to offer, and I've worked with a lot of those guys that's in these companies.
They say, for like wrestling veterans, the true prime of the career is like 37 to 45. Like there's like a range there where people are like, oh, 40. No, 40. It's like, like that's when you really hit the stride of the prime. I remember Classy Freddie Blassie was saying, I mean, this is old school, but like his prime was like when he was 45 to 50 or something. So, like guys kind of catch their prime around this age.
Oh yeah, I agree. And you take care of your body. I've been, I had some injuries in 2015. It kind of slowed me down a little bit. That taught me more about rehabbing my body and being smarter with my lifting and body. Because it's like I don't work a normal job and then I can go lift super heavy. Like I've beat my body up for over 20 years and I got to be smarter. But you're right, dude. Look at AJ Styles, look at Bobby Roode. I mean, these guys are in their
Yep.
40s and just killing it, man. I mean, so I love to see that. I mean, Jericho, he's probably close to 50, I would think, right?
I think he is 50 exactly. I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then recently I just saw a picture of him. I was like, he's gotten in good shape again.
He's
So good
ripped.
for him.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, just taking care of your body. And there's longevity in this. Doesn't matter. There's no age gap.
Somebody online was teasing him about his abs, so he was having fun, like, "Hey, yeah, they're fake. Yeah, they're fake abs." Like, you know what I mean? Like, stupid stuff, but, like, obviously, he got in great shape because there was a picture of him from last year to this year.
Yeah.
He looks great, yeah.
I know, man. Yeah, I love that guy. He's a class act too, bro.
So, what's like, as far as what's next on the horizon? I know we got wrestling. Any non-wrestling stuff you got coming up?
I do. So I don't know if we've you may know, some of the listeners may or may not know, I do ministry stuff. So I'm a Christian. I go out and I speak to like youth groups, but I also get a chance to visit quite a few like teen homes where these kids are in these group homes because whatever, their mother and father are in prison for murder, they've been abandoned, just all kinds of different stuff, man. So for me, it's near and dear to my heart. To get out and just share basically God. That's my belief system there, and just share things to these kids. Also who, I was growing up in a single family home or single parent home, and Some of these kids think that that's like, their future or whatnot. They have no ambitions, and I just try to go out and just help some of these kids out. So it's, yeah, I got my own podcast, me and my buddy Casey Cage, Wrestling for the Faith. So I dabble in that, and but yeah, I do a lot of ministry stuff. I'm visiting some churches in Texas where I'll do like a wrestling event for a Christian wrestling promotion, and speak at a church the next morning. So it's just something that's really important to me.
Good stuff there. Very good.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, give us all the plugs, social media and everything else, and of course the podcast.
Yep. So you got Instagram and Twitter. It's at CWLEL_Gunner. The Wrestling for the Faith podcast, you can get on iTunes, Spotify. We have a YouTube channel as well. And yeah, what else do I got? Personal Facebook page is Chad Lell. And it's really about it. I have a YouTube channel, Chad Lell, as well, but it's more like, devotionals and stuff for my Christian fans or whatnot, or anybody who wants to tune in, please check it out. But yeah, definitely ask you to check out the podcast if you can. We've got some cool testimonies on there and some really cool guests and stuff like that. So I think you'll enjoy it.
Nice. Good stuff. Chad,
Yes, sir.
thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you as well, John.